Well, okay, so just for everybody listening, Maxwell is a lawyer and he knows basically the entire law. So he's going to know this
And crypto.
and everything there is to know about crypto. Um
It was
okay.
like the question. Yeah, just read it. Just read it to me.
Well, yeah, so I'll kind of set the scene here and then you just, pontificate about whatever you think. But so this is House of the Dragon, and just no spoilers here. This is stuff from season 1. Okay, so this has already been out there, but so King Viserys, he names his daughter Rhaenyra as his heir, and he does this publicly in front of all of the major people in the realm. They all come to the courthouse, they bend the knee. He doesn't have a son. He's got this daughter. She's like 10, and he just publicly says, "She's my heir." Which, when it happened, was kind of a big deal because the way he got put into place was his grandfather became super old, like over 100, and he had a great council. And well, he died, and then they had a great council to determine out of all these Targaryens who should take place, and the oldest one was a female, and they ended up skipping her and going to like his
Hmm.
like his like dead son's son. So they skipped the
Yeah.
female line all because the female had a son. So they could have gone with the oldest daughter's next son,
Yep.
but they skipped that. Went to the oldest son, even though he was dead son, and got this guy named Viserys. So they skipped the female line,
It's
but
like
then
gotta be male to male lineage, right?
yeah, I guess it's called male preference primogeniture. I can't say that word.
Yeah. Primogeniture.
Yes. So this stands for like 15 to 20 years. Then he gets remarried. And with his new wife, he has a son. And it's kind of talked about like there's starting to be rumblings like, okay, well, is the son going to become the heir? Like we all assume that. And then it kind of comes to a head. He's forced to address it publicly. And he says, nope, my daughter's still the heir. And then um, he
Hmm.
continues to live for like another 15 years. And then on his deathbed, he is talking to his wife, but he's kind of like fallen in and out of it. She honestly believes that he says, my intention is to change my mind and my son is my heir. Now, she's not making this up. She thinks that's what he actually said. We, as the audience, know that that's not exactly what he was saying. Um, but that's what she believes. And so then the question is, let's just assume that that is what he was saying. He did change his mind, but no one else heard it. And so he
Hmm.
tells her, she's the queen, but there's a whole faction of people that are going to support Rhaenyra, and then there's a faction of people that are going to support her. But my question is, who legally should inherit with this situation?
So for starters, I have seen this, by the way. I know you're setting a stage, but I was like, I know this, Trevor. I know this whole story. And I also can't recall. I felt like he did know that wasn't what he intended, but I wasn't paying that much attention in the recap, and I guess it's been like 2 years. So I'm gonna just take what you said at face value. So she's got Rhaenyra has been basically designated as the heir apparent in well, it's not in a will, but it's in like it's been publicly designated. So let's just call that the recording. By the way, I mean, so in one hand, I want to just address that like I'm going to answer this in today's world and try and address like then because at that point in time you have all these other dynamics too. It's like a feudalistic society. It's not just like a will um, conveying rights to an heir. It's also like there's this degree of feudalistic acceptance of the ruler that they don't hash this out in the show this way, but I mean, he could convey it to anybody he wants. If the people won't be ruled by that person, it won't matter. It's not his to give necessarily. Like
Yeah.
he can give them whatever he has, but he no longer has it once he dies. Now it's whatever he gave them, and they may not be willing to reinforce that. So setting aside that, right? Like there's this. I feel like your question is primarily about whether or not you can change your mind uh, because it was publicly declared, right? But if I recall correctly, at the beginning of the show, what's his brother's name?
Damon.
Damon's the heir apparent. There's always an heir apparent.
So Damon was
As
the heir before he publicly
before he
said it
had a
was his
son.
daughter Rhaenyra. It had been publicly named Damon.
Well, it was Damon, and then he had a son, and the son died after a day.
Yes.
So
And
Damon
that was the
lost it
trigger.
by default,
Yes, you're right.
right?
So he already had Rhaenyra. He didn't really say anything. It was kind of like it's probably Damon, but maybe it's actually Rhaenyra. It
I
was up in the
My
air. Then
understanding
he
is
had
that
his son.
it goes to Damon just like that's the order because he's the male brother. And then like if Damon had a son and Damon had died, but the problem was in the original scenario that like it was just a woman, not another man, and then the woman had a male son. Like who was what is his name again? Who's the original king? King A something? God, I hate the
Oh,
names of
the
everything.
very first king was King Aegon.
Aegon, and then who's Rhaenyra's dad? Is it Aegon?
Oh
That's not
no,
Aegon.
Aegon is like 100
Aegon's the
years before
OG
this.
one.
Yeah.
Who's Rhaenyra's dad?
Rhaenyra's dad is Viserys, the guy we're talking
V-
about. Yeah.
Viserys. So Viserys is Aegon's nephew.
There's several generations. The old king that I referenced, his name was Jaehaerys, and
Jared.
he's like the fourth or fifth king after Aegon.
Okay. So, anyways, I guess to address, let's just address this with today's rules. I know in Texas, I don't know everywhere, but I assume this is the case everywhere because it was on the bar this way. That there has to be two witnesses,
Oh,
and
okay.
I
That's
mean,
pretty cool.
in theory, and it's not even the